We are now at episode 297 at the livest hip-hop show on Fridays and Sunday nights. For those who don't know, this is another reason why we are the best hip-hop show on Friday and Sunday nights, because we play the livest music. What you just heard right there was two classic bangers that we just played. We played Rakim's Shades of Black, which was the Beat Miners remix, along with the late, great, Notorious B.I.G., The Ugliest, featuring Busta Rhymes. What it do, y'all? This your boy King Eric the Great from Off the Cuff Radio, sponsored by Dirty Basement, Buddy Boy Entertainment, and the new Channel Zero. We got a live show going on tonight at episode 297, alongside with my co-host, T-Max with the facts.
What it do, King? Another Friday night, fantasticness. We on live and direct, OTC, the place to be. And we got a very, very, very special guest with us tonight. And this is going to be one of our most special shows, ladies and gentlemen, because in the years we've done Off the Cuff Radio, we never had a jeweler on the show. And tonight, we are honored, we are privileged to have one of the most elite bling masters in the game right now, who provides the shine to the stars to make them brighter even more. He is one of the most stand-up guys I know. I reached out to him, and he was so gracious to give us his time. Ladies and gentlemen, Luxury NYC, the one, the only, Big Mike the Jeweler.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
What's going on,
man? We good,
man.
How you doing?
Man, I appreciate you, man. That was a wild introduction, man. I appreciate it. I'm really humbled by it.
Well, we're humbled to have you on,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, man. So I guess we get down to brass tacks with it. Definitely, you were hip, as we all are, hip-hop heads, man.
Yeah, man, of course, always.
Yes. Fashion is one of the most integral parts of the game, but of course the jewelry accessory is what really sets it all. And it's just as much a part of the culture, as anything, as well as the music. It's the style that goes along with it. And you are an ambassador of that style to make everybody shine bright. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the game.
Oh, man, thank you, man. Like I said again, I really appreciate y'all having me on the program. And, I actually fell into the jewelry business by complete accident. I wasn't even interested in jewelry like that. I was actually working in luxury real estate for about 6-7 years here in New York City.
Oh,
I've been doing pretty well for myself. And I was working at one of the top-ranked boutique luxury real estate companies, Platinum Properties. And I loved it, and I had worked my way up, paid my dues, and I made my first sale of a property over $10 million, which, being a man of color in New York in the real estate game, it's a hard feat to come by, even if you're working at a luxury brokerage. So I made my first big sale, and I wanted to treat myself to a Rolex. So I decided I was going to go down to one of the jewelers that I heard all these rappers and all these entertainers talking about. In all the songs, you hear all the big name guys. You hear the Jacob the Jewelers. You hear this one, that one. And I went to one. I don't want to say who I went to, but I went to one of their shops, and I was dressed, coming off of work. I thought I was, dressed formally. And I went in there, and the level of disrespect that I was met with hard-earned money, you would not believe. And I'm saying to myself, this is one of the cats that everybody all the athletes go to. Everybody's talking about. Their name is really popular. And I walked in there, you would have thought I had holes in my shoes. It really left a bad taste in my mouth.
And this was Jacob. This is Jacob the Jeweler store that you went into, or is this
no, it wasn't
store
Jacob.
undisclosed?
It wasn't Jacob.
Okay, making sure. Just want to clarify
store undisclosed
for our listeners. Yes, sir.
No,
yes,
it wasn't Jacob. Jacob is a fantastic guy. He's a great guy. He does great business. I don't want to. I'd rather not say who it was.
Okay, understood. Shout out to Jacob Arabo of Jacob and Company, one of the most esteemed and sought after and high-end guys out there. Of course, we got to give a shout out to Tito and Manny's in New York as well. Now this is interesting. And this is interesting, Mike, because in the prelim talks that we had, this is a discovery for us because we didn't know that you sold real estate prior to. So you were well versed in understanding the discerning taste and budgets that people have in terms of it. So you were well acquainted with this before you got into the jewelry game, and it has parallels. About your time in the real estate business, because this segues directly into you coming into the jewelry business. What did you find in real estate that would ultimately help you transcend in terms of understanding your buyers in the jewelry business? Was it a long transition, or was it a fairly easy one considering what you had already observed and learned?
More than anything, I would say that the one thing that was able to transition from my previous experience is making sure that you have a depth of knowledge on product knowledge. You got to be an expert on what it is that you're selling for people. And two, more important than anything else, is being able to figure out outside of the box ways to do marketing for the audience that you're trying to target. Because no matter what business you're in, whether you're the best or not, if you can't find a way to reach the audience of people that you want to appeal to, you're going to have a problem keeping your doors open. And I think my ability to capture attention online was definitely the most integral part of being able to be successful moving into the jewelry from real estate.
Understood. And I think King would agree with me when I say this because, look, we're hip-hop nerds, so we know, and we're nerds about everything in terms of understanding the market in reference to places like Miami, Los Angeles, and New York especially. The real estate money is ridiculous. So if you were able to do what look, though, I was watching a joint years ago when Runs in the Family, about Reverend Run, the reality show that was on MTV, and his daughters were looking at an apartment out there in New York. And I believe, because it was years ago I saw it, and it was like, I believe that whole property, because people got to understand in New York, and please correct me if I'm wrong on how the architecture is set up, because usually when you buy an apartment in New York, you're buying out a big-ass floor. This isn't if you're really balling. So this ain't like you're just buying like a little mini house. You're buying like a big-ass floor. So the girls asked, Angela asked the realtor the price for it, and I think the realtor said it was somewhere around maybe like $10 million.
Yeah.
It's
crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. That stuff like that regularly happens. I remember at one point while I was doing real estate, when I first started out, I was in the rental market, and I had a client who was a foreign exchange student. He had just finished grad school, and he was a student athlete. He was playing soccer for the school that he was going to. So he finished grad school, and he got an offer letter from some big company. He was going to make a lot of money, and he was working in a really central part of the city, which is really expensive. But he wanted, look, as we all do, we want to, not work far away from where we live. So he wanted that's what he wanted. And he was looking at a studio apartment, and I kid you not, the studio apartment was $4,500 a month.
I believe it. That's New York. I believe it.
I mean, it was nice. Yeah. The building was nice. They had some amenities, and for $4,500 a month for a studio, I can't stomach that. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and it's funny, man, because, you're bringing all of this up, and it ties into so many elements of the music industry and, purchases and everything, because people have a lot of aspirations moving to New York, and that, because next to California is, they always have the saying, California is where you want to go to act, New York is where you do music, and New York is a place where a lot of people have those aspirations. New York, big city of dreams, and that's Broadway, Soho, for our listeners who may not know, is south of Houston Street. No, it's not pronounced Houston. It's Houston Street.
It's Houston. Only in
Mm-hmm.
New York is it Houston.
Yeah, but people don't understand that living in New York is a very, very, very expensive endeavor. Beautiful city. I've been to Manhattan. Very beautiful place. But you're gonna pay. You're going to pay there.
It's widely expensive, and just like you were saying, to tie in the music industry back to the jewelry, the unfortunate thing that I've come to learn dealing with a lot of music artists, up and coming artists, is these guys will tell you that they have a fan base from wherever they're from, because most people these days who are making it in the rap industry, in the hip hop industry, they're not from New York. These guys will tell you
right.
that they came from the South or they came from out West, and they have a big following of people who are interested in them. But for them to make it to that next tier of the larger show, like let's say you're a guy who's doing shows where you can get 500 people a show or 1,000 people a show, for the promoters to take you seriously, to be able to do shows where you can have 2,500 people come, 5,000 people come, they won't be able to get to that level unless they buy some jewelry. It's almost a requirement in the hip-hop industry that you have to project a certain level of success to even be able to get the opportunity to actually achieve it for yourself. It's crazy what's happening in the game today.
Definitely, and we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that because yeah, man. And like King said, image is everything, and we're going to get into that, Mike, because me and King has a background in journalism, so he's learned a lot about what goes on behind closed doors, about who's got what. So we gotta give our listeners the setup before we actually get into what goes on behind the scenes with it. So what made you decide to transition from real estate to jewelry in terms of
right.
What made you decide to make that career jump? Because obviously you did this 6-7 years in your prior profession. So you caked off nice like Duncan Hines, with the sweet spot with it. So how did you decide? What was that epiphany that was like, okay, I've done this and I'm ready to go to the next thing?
Well, to get back to what we were discussing earlier, so first Rolex at that jeweler, and they treated me with a lot of disrespect. And I went to have a coffee nearby, and I sat there and I was thinking to myself, if 80-90% of the business that these guys do every year comes from successful young black men who are making money, entertainers, athletes, entrepreneurs, why is it that I will go in here and spend my hard-earned money and be treated disrespectfully? How are those two things going hand in hand? And how is it if 80-90% of the business that these cats are doing is coming from people that look like me, that nobody that looks like me is involved in this business? Black folk have been buying jewelry for as long as America's been shaking. How is it that none of us have taken the opportunity from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s when, I think back to guys like Mr. T who were buying big, bulky, giant jewelry. How is it that all of the money that these cats are spending, nobody took the time to stand to the side and say, instead of spending my money, putting money in somebody else's pocket who's been doing this for generations, why can't I spend that money investing in myself and open the same business and do business with my people?
You know what, Mike? And that's such an astute point that you made, because jewelry, going back to the big baller days, and a lot of our listeners, are going to know about this as well in terms of some of the history and reference to the people. This is Off the Cuff Radio. We are with Big Mike the Jeweler of Luxury NYC, myself And King Eric the Ruler, call numbers 1-516-531-9596. Hit 1 for the host queue in order to drop in and have a convo with us. So, yeah, Mike, so you got guys all over, who were doing it big. Some of the big ballers and flossers. Of course, like Guy Fisher, Pee Wee Kirkland,
right.
Convertible Burt, of course, Felix Mitchell out in Oakland. Yeah, son, look, we see, and of course, King Supreme, Kenneth McGriff,
right.
the Supreme Team, Lorenzo Fatcat. Look, dog, I've seen these old pictures of these gangsters, and these dudes were trucked out then. Alpo, yeah.
Right, they were
trucked out. Yeah. And, of course, Bishop Don Magic Juan, they were trucked out then. So you're wondering, like, and everybody knows Don Magic Juan, especially for that ornate, big, rope cross that he had at his personal jeweler, Ron Valentine. He was the one that actually, that's Don Magic Juan's jeweler. But yeah, man. So when you were making that transition, what type of, what was the procedure in terms of, having to go to school to learn the metallurgy, your different grades, because, you have to fuse, you have to make sure you get the proper fusion of, metals to ensure its density and stability, learning about your diamonds in terms of your C's, your color, cut, clarity, and carats, all of that. What was that like in terms of that learning curve for you, learning all of this?
Well, I come from the school of hard knocks, and, the funny thing and the convenient thing about the Diamond District in New York City is that everything related to the jewelry industry is all in one place. It's all on 47th Street.
Right.
So if there's any answer you're looking for, there's only one place to go. So one way or another, if you're determined, you're going to find the answer. So originally when I started, I had some money saved, obviously, from the real estate game, but I did not have enough money to open my own shop. So
right.
I figured there's got to be a way into this. And I knew that being someone who didn't have a wholesaler's license and had not gone to the GIA school.
The Gemological Institute of America certified, right?
That's correct. That's correct. The
right.
GIA is the authorization company that they process all of the finest diamonds that come through the United States, and they also have it's a college that you can take different courses to become a gemologist, and there are some other courses there that most jewelers get their certification there. It's like the Harvard of jewelry education, GIA, because there are other schools around the world and in the United States, but GIA is the creme de la creme.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
yes, sir.
GIA's headquarters is also located in the Diamond District on 47th Street. I looked it up.
Okay.
How much it cost to go through their college, and it was incredibly expensive, and I knew that I had to find another way. So I went to where most people subcontract jewelers to manufacture jewelry, and I want to learn from the workers themselves. The people actually take the gold and do the melding and do the casting and do the setting. And I went to these guys, and these guys are in the basement. They're not the guys that you see on the street where you see the glitz and the glamour and all the celebrities. Where the work is actually being done, it's in the gutter. And I want to learn from those guys because they have the actual experience, the tangible experience, people who are in the game for decades and have a wealth of knowledge. And surprisingly enough, the people who are actually doing the jewelry construction for all of the major jewelry companies in New York in the Diamond District, they're all people of color. It's the Koreans, it's the Mexicans, it's the Indians, it's the Arab folk. So those people were more reticent to welcome me in to help bestow the knowledge that I needed to get to the next level than the people who own the big stores on the block.
And you know what, you building off of. And building off, from the ground up and being in part of the jewelry business, which is like a competitive aspect within itself, because anytime you start a business, you got to look at your competition. What was like your appeal to what was like your appeal to draw your audience from these different jewelry makers, because it's a very competitive market.
Mhm. Well, oddly enough, when I first got started, I started selling fake jewelry. I started selling sterling silver dipped in gold with cubic zirconias, and I started selling that stuff. But I figured you can make jewelry that looks just as good as solid gold jewelry, and if you make it with quality, the customers will come. So I would see what all the major stores and all of the guys that all the big spenders are going to. I would see what they were making, and I would make it for myself in cheaper alloys, cheaper metals, lower quality gemstones, and I would start selling it. And before you knew it, so many of these cats that you think got real jewelry, these athletes, I would get private messages from rappers that NFL guys. In fact, that's really how my business initially grew, was NFL guys who want to, look like they're the quarterback, but they don't have the quarterback money. They're the ones who are buying some of the fake jewelry out here.
And I'm laughing, Mike, because me and King, this is exactly where we knew we were going to end up at, to a degree. Not naming names, of course, because like you said, like King said, it's the image that is so contingent on it. And this has been going on as long as the bling era in hip-hop has been going, in reference to, even in the 80s and, the 90s and even today, because a lot of that, you look at a lot of those rope chains that a lot of rappers had back in the day, and you wonder how many of those rope chains were solid as opposed to hollow. And if anything, you look at guys like, they need to look. And when you look at it, man, there's probably no other rapper that embodied that 80s excess of jewelry bling probably better than Slick Rick, with his ensemble. And Rick really set the standard. Of course, with
Rick
his
is
legendary
a legend,
pieces.
Rick is an animal of a different breed.
Yeah. And, of course, LL would set it off, with that LL Cool J 5-finger ring, which I think he said at that time when he had it manufactured. Yeah, that was, $15,000 when he had that made, which was astronomical back in the 80s.
Right. Right, and it's funny you mentioned LL because, I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, so I've always looked up to LL, to Rev Run, to Jam Master Jay, to 50 Cent. Like, these guys are, guys that I idolize, because growing up in New York, being such a huge fan of the hip-hop industry, I always felt like there was a generation and a wave of time where Queens didn't get the respect that it deserves, because people, Brooklyn always gets a lot of love, the Bronx, Harlem gets a lot of love, so to see cats from Queens doing it really made it a lot for me.
Hey, man, look, but Queens, Queens get the money, you know what I'm saying? And y'all have a very distinguished pedigree of a tradition of making it, shout out to Jamaica, shout out to Farmers, shout out to Corona, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to QB, 41st side, 40 side, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, man, shout out to all of y'all.
They used to bring some of the craziest pieces. They used to have some of the craziest pieces. Like Nas, he had the QB piece. And Prodigy had the infamous Mob piece.
Yeah,
man.
So,
those were the days, man. That's what I was looking up to when I was a young cat.
Definitely. Now, in terms of it, because as you found your, because as you saw your business growing, because obviously, and I think in terms of the look is one thing, being an athlete or a rapper, because you're in the business of, pushing a product, in the NFL, NBA, singing, whatever. I think it's also something, too, that it's also prudent that on a serious note, we really have to understand that when you want quality, you can't go cheap. And a lot of times we see a lot of situations where a lot of artists, And shout out to Ghostface, Ghostface Killer the Woo, man. One of the dopest MCs and one of my all-time favorites. I don't know how true this was, and this was going back when he did the Fish Scale album. No, the Pretty Tony. It was a Pretty Tony record. It was a Pretty Tony record that was released in 2004, and he got that big-ass eagle Medusa plate and Cuban links set, and supposedly, I don't know if somebody was, just trying to be funny about it, but they said supposedly Ghost blew his whole ad budget on that. I don't know how true it was.
Yeah,
but that piece,
he
that
did.
was sick. Okay, he did do that.
I ran into Ghost at a festival backstage one time, and I asked him, I was like, yo, how heavy is that thing, man? That bracelet is with the eagle on it. Could buy a house.
I believe it because it's
18-karat gold. It's solid. Man, you can summon spirits with that bracelet, man. That thing is coming up.
Yeah, because I heard he had a carrying case and everything for it.
He's moving with a different type of energy. That's definitely cardio, keeping that thing up.
Yeah,
so the chain was like the rapper's costume at the time. The chain was what defined who the rapper was. Even I would say the all-time favorite piece for me would be Pun's Terror Squad piece.
Oh man, I love that piece. Pun's Terror Squad piece. The first one he did was amazing.
Yeah.
And Joe, Fat Joe is continue to keep it alive, and he continues to remake them.
Yeah,
but that's one of the pinnacles of hip hop. It was, seeing so many crews come and go that had their own unique chain. Remember how big was the Rockefeller chain? Seeing somebody had a Rockefeller chain, or what that meant about their pedigree as an MC, that they got one.
Yeah, and Mike, and we all know the hip-hop history of it because at the time that the Rock was really rolling, with Biggs, Jay, and Dame, they were basically the three godfathers of the clique. So, and this was basically the standing rule of the Rock, that 2 out of the 3, because you have the majority vote, if 2 out of the 3 voted you to have a chain, then, you got a chain. But those chains were not something they just gave out. You were, if it was a 2 out of 3 vote, and if it was unanimous, all 3 said you got one, then yeah, you got one, because they had blue diamonds. Jay rapped about back in the day, when he was saying, I was rocking platinum when all you, chicks thought it was silver.
Right.
So we have to look at the genesis in terms of jewelry because it's always been around. When did you start seeing the transition in your time in reference to when platinum had became the standard as opposed to gold, although gold was what set the standard in terms of style? Was you think it's just a transition from as more? Go ahead, please.
The funny thing is that platinum has always, it's a precious metal just like gold, but it's always been more expensive than gold, not because it's particularly has any properties that make it any more beautiful than gold, but because of the process of extracting it and creating it. It's just a more, it requires more labor.
It's laborious.
Which is what makes it more expensive. And it really, when these rappers found out that it was more expensive than gold, they just started making jewelry out of platinum for the novelty of the idea that they spent. I'm shitting on you because I'm spending 4 times more what gold costs to get this platinum than you would to get white gold or yellow gold for that matter.
Right.
So it was just a trend that came and went.
Right. And it's funny, Mike, because a lot of people, in terms of this, have to understand the metallurgy in terms of the properties of how it reflects, because white gold has the white hue that reflects off of it, but if it's platinum, it has the blue hue that reflects off of it, and that is usually how you can tell the difference between the two. But you have to have a very trained and keen eye, to understand that, yes.
Which is why it also is important that you have a jeweler who's going to take the time to source their diamonds properly for the type of alloy that you're using. Because
Right.
what people don't know is when you're manufacturing pieces, if you have white gold as opposed to yellow gold, you're going to have to use a slightly higher quality of stone to put on that white gold than you would the yellow. Because with the yellow gold, you can get away with mixing in stones that are not as close in quality, that are slightly yellow, because you're not going to be able to, by the naked eye, discern that difference. Whereas with white gold,
Right.
you're not able to mask that off because the metal is so pure and you can see it against the white stone. You have to use a higher quality diamond. So when you see people who have white gold jewelry with diamonds on it, that's the reason why it really looks like it sparkles crazy compared to yellow gold with white diamonds on it.
Definitely. And also, too, when you're dealing with gold, a lot of people have to understand the process because gold is a very soft metal in its essence. So you have to have your alloys in terms of nickel as well to mix with it to give it that strength and stability.
Right, because gold is very malleable. It's just very soft.
Yeah, because you have your carats starting at 10. Shout out to Jim Jones, not dissing. I know somebody was trying to take shots at Jim because they were trying to say that his gold was 10 carat, but I'm like, hey, Jim's got the money to get it, but when you're looking at it, a lot of these chains, you're looking at it from your carat ranges. You're going from your 10 carat to your 14 to your 18 to your 22 and then your 24, which is pure. When I saw E40 rocking his chain with that gold bar with a 99.9%, I was like, okay, Uncle Lee. I'm like, I was like, this dude here. And that was like after he got the 40 piece. I was like, good Lord. Man. I was like,
E40 is a different type of cat, man. He's a crazy dude.
Dude, when I seen the Stick With It chain where he had the actual pig logo, I was like, but like you said though, Mike, and King knows about this as well, when you're dealing, because the funny thing about it is when artists have money, it's one thing to understand you may have some, but not blowing it all at one place. And, E is, and a lot of those guys, of course, like E, Master P, those guys came from an independent hustle, where, you're making more money. So obviously you have more to spend because it's yours,
Right.
And
that's why Gucci Man has always had such a crazy collection because he's independent and almost all of the money goes to him, which is why he can buy some of the biggest, cleanest, loudest jewelry out there.
Look, that OD piece, now Gooch, Gooch talks about the So Icy chain in terms of we all know the story behind that, and he doesn't even really like wearing the So Icy chain anymore because he said in so many words that's been bad luck for him. We all know the stories,
right?
And I know about with Jeezy. Now, when Jeezy came into the game, I got to big up my man. Shout out CTE, Boo Rossini, Jeezy, the whole Corporate Thugs Entertainment. Shout out to DJ Ace as well. Jeezy came in the game when he had that snowman piece. That was a reported 75 carat piece, and this was a diamond chain that he had attached to it. The snowman piece was 75 carats. Now, Mike, for those who really may not understand the science and the nuance of carats, break down to our listeners how the diamond weights are determined by carats and the grade in terms of how much you're looking at, in terms of what a piece, like say for academics, like Jeezy's piece, and like what's the most ridiculous piece I've ever seen Gucci wear? Because there's a ton of them. I'm trying to pick just one. Like the iced out Bart piece.
Mm-hmm. Well, so for everyone listening, carats, when people talk about carats when it refers to diamonds, they're talking about carat weight. And that's really just the actual weight of the diamond. And depending on the shape, even though a stone may appear bigger or smaller, they may have the same weight because the thickness is not the same. And some of the other properties of the shape of the diamond are not the same. But when it comes to these pieces, these custom pieces, and the amount of carats that they put in them, generally speaking, for you to do the math, you can figure that for these rappers, when they tell you the number of carats, just multiply by $1,100, and that's usually how you can get to what they probably paid for that piece. So if they tell you that they bought a piece with 75 carats, you do the math.
Right.
They're spending a lot of money over there.
Definitely.
And
now,
that of course depends on the diamond quality that they use. You know, a lot of times it's very popular in hip hop for people to quote the appraised value of their goods rather than what the actual value is, because you know, there's a secret game going on with the insurance. A jeweler will make you a piece that you paid $25,000 for, and they'll have it appraised $38,000. So that, you know, if you're a rapper, if you're an athlete, or you're whoever who has jewelry, and you go on vacation and you put your jewelry in your hotel room and it disappears, you're going to be up when you claim it on insurance. You've got your money back, and you've got a little extra money to come back and shop for some more jewelry. That's the name of the game these days. That's what these rappers are doing. So a lot of these guys, when you ask them in interviews, how much is that jewelry that you got, how much is it worth, they'll tell you the appraised value just to hype up, to make it sound like they spent more money than they actually did.
Right. And one thing about it is, in terms of your because you have your different stones, like you have your VS1 and your VS2s in terms of your clarity, which obviously your VS1s are the top of the line. You know, obviously, you know, you got to have some money for that. Now, from your experience in the game, what is the most expensive piece that you sold? And you can say who you say who you made it for. If you want to keep that confidential, you know, we totally understand. But what's the biggest individual sale that you ever made?
Well, first things first. Let me talk about the stones before I get to one of my biggest.
Go ahead.
With the stone clarity, what's a big part of the game that has caused a lot of confusion and regional, you know, in the jewelry game, there are not that many guys at the top of the game, really. The big name jewelers, there's maybe 20 or 30 of them across the country. And the guys in New York don't like the guys in Atlanta and Houston. Because the guys in Atlanta and Houston, objectively speaking, removing my personal opinion out of it, the guys in Atlanta and Houston are known for selling jewelry with SI quality stones. And SI quality stones are great. There's nothing wrong with them. But they sell SI quality stones in their merchandise and tell their customers that they're VVS. A much higher clarity that would cost a much higher price. So now a customer goes to a guy in Houston and he wants to buy XYZ watch. And the guy in Houston tells him the watch costs $20,000. And the guy in New York is telling him that it costs $26,000. He's going to go to the guy in Houston and say, he's going to go to the guy in New York and say, the guy in Houston says his watch has VVS. You're telling me yours has VS, and you're charging $6,000 more. Why should I trust you? But it's because the guys in the South are putting lower quality stones in their goods and advertising that they are of a higher quality. So because of that, jewelers in the South and jewelers in New York have a lot of beef when it comes to the clarity business, when they're dealing with the price point wars with customers.
Yeah, you know, and you know, it's funny, Mike, when you say that, because you got so many jewelers who are high end. You know, you have If and Company. Of course, you have Chris Bear, the Iceman. Of course, you have Johnny Dang. You know, it's so many out there.
If anything, I got to shout out my guy, Mr. Chris the Jeweler in Atlanta.
Okay.
When I very first got started in this game, he served like as a mentor. He's a nice Indian guy out of Atlanta. He does great business. he served as a mentor to me because, you know, most of the people who are at the top in this jewelry game, God bless them. There's enough money out here for everybody, but most of the people who have been doing this for generations, they're Russian Jewish people. I just got to call it for what it is. Russian Jewish people, for the most part, control the jewelry industry, and the people who are not Russian Jews that are in the business are usually Indian or Korean people. And I got to shout out Mr. 3 Jeweler in Atlanta, because some of these guys who are local, who have been here for generations, they were not so helpful and, you know, imparting the knowledge that to help a new guy get started and, you know, be a part of the industry. But Mr. 3 Jeweler took me under his wing, and he helped me out with some of the things I needed to know when I got started. So I've always got love for him. Shout out to Mr. 3 Jeweler in Atlanta.
Definitely.
Now, you know, what you be in the business.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now with you being in the business and everything, and for some reason, you know, being a black businessman, you know, it kind of carries like a stigma in any business, and not just the jewelry business, but anything that you're trying to start.
Any business.
Has there been like,
even when I was
any business? Now, have you ever experienced those type of difficulties in dealing with jewelry? Because, you know, you got rappers that will probably dismiss you, but then go to somebody like Jacob the Jeweler, even though your pieces may be better.
Yeah, it's actually, to be honest with you, it's something that, unfortunately, I deal with a lot more often than I'd like. You know, we as a community, we have an issue with trusting that when you're dealing with somebody that looks like you, that the business is on the up and up, because too often we find ourselves in situations where you want to do business with your people and then there's some goofy shit going on and you're just trying to spend your money and, you know, do the right thing. And unfortunately, I'll give you one. I've had an experience where I had a real top of the line NFL player. I won't say who he is, but he's one of the big cats that everybody is talking about. I had the opportunity to do business with him, and we went back and forth on the stuff that he wanted to purchase. Whoop-de-whoop. He thought that I had a good quality and I had a good deal. And he told me straight up, he was like, yo, I see you're doing the thing out here. I want to do business with you, but I know there's no way that you've gotten to the level that you've gotten to in this jewelry business and there ain't a white man involved. I know there's a white man in charge, so whoever the white man is, put him on the phone.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Whoa. That hurt me, and I'm
Damn.
not even the guy who's selling the piece, and that hurt me to hear that. Oh, wow. Oh, damn. I mean, but the fact is that, you know, and one thing I think as black people we have to understand is that, you know, we're so beyond the narrow box of limitations that a lot of people and even our own try to put us on. If people have to understand our history. We are survivors. We are overcomers. We are achievers. We have shown in any endeavor that we have gotten into that we excel in it, you know, and to still years later, as we have become upwardly mobile in this country, to still hear our own people still ridicule and still question our acumen, our ability, our integrity, it's still a very heartbreaking. It's still very heartbreaking to think about, you know, in terms of, you know, your own people don't even rock with you, you know, to really, and we yet still, we see so many talk about we need to stick together, but a lot of times some don't even follow what they're preaching, you know, and it's to me,
you
it's
know,
disingenuous.
You know, at the end of the day, though, you have to, I've come to the realization and understanding that no matter what it is that you're doing in this country, you have to understand that there's going to be a segment of this population that just can't imagine, can live your life and want to achieve success for yourself and it be attainable. You know, one of the things that motivates me every day when I come to work, that I know that I need to prove myself within this industry and just as a businessman in general is in the diamond district here in New York, just like in a lot of jewelry places around the country, there are people out on the street that they call, here we call them hawks or flyer guys. And it's like, they're like a mobile pawn shop. There are guys standing on the street that is going to, as you walk down 47th Street, they're going to ask you, are you buying or selling? Because obviously people who come to the diamond district, they've got jewelry that they want to, hawk off that they've got from somewhere. But whenever it's a black person that walks down the block in the diamond district in New York and they ask, are you buying or selling? It's an implication. There's an implication that you got that gold from doing something dirty, that you came up on it from some illicit means of some sort, and you're selling it to get rid of it because it's hot in your pocket. Every day I walk down the street to go to my showroom, to walk to my showroom, these guys, they see my face every day, and they can't imagine that I've got my own business and that I'm not just some brother from the block who got some scrap gold that he's trying to get rid of. They ask every day, are you buying or selling? Because there's only one other reason that a black man could be in the diamond district is if he was buying or selling. That's the only reason black men are usually out here. And it inspires me every day that I have to keep working hard and doing the best that I can and putting the best quality forward to keep my customers happy and grow my business to the point that they'll know that I'm not a guy coming to buying or selling, and they're not going to ask me that question again.
And that was why we wanted to have you on the show, Mike, because especially as a man of color, and I'm an admitted jewelry whore myself. Not rich enough to buy everything I want, but
I think you got a nice little collection there.
Yeah. I had to send you a little picture of a little bit of what I got. Yeah, but it's one thing about it though, man, is that we wanted to really, really talk to you and get it from your perspective and your experience, which is invaluable. It's priceless. It's flawless because any knowledge you attain is always an asset in academics. One thing about it, man, is we come up in an era where we see, like you said, a lot of people put the emphasis on the chain. But it's also about just making sure that because that does make a statement for you as an artist, as an entertainer, But I think sometimes, and Ice-T said it best, sometimes the real money is not in the bling. It's just about what you have. Like when you have watches like the Rolexes, the Patek Philippe, what's the other one I'm thinking of? The Audemars Piguet. Yeah. The Breitlings. I'm still tripping. I think that was Breitling or AP that actually had that speedboat set with the watch that came with it. Or was it a BMW set? I gotta go back. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, Breitling.
Yeah, I read about that in Rise Magazine. Shout out to Rise Magazine. I had that some years ago, and I read about it. And I was like, wait a minute, so you get a watch with this too? I was like, but when you're dealing with now in terms of watches, because when you're dealing with a lot of the APs, and the Royal Oak Offshore and all that, a lot of times those are the watches that are the most expensive because of the machinations in terms of all that's being handcrafted. While they're not flashy with diamonds,
they're
still trying to figure out.
They truly are investments.
Right. That's why I was trying to figure out why the hell Odell Beckham Jr. was wearing a damn. What was that watch he was wearing in that game, King? Trying to stunt. Richard Mille. Yeah, it was a Richard Mille watch.
Richard Mille.
Yeah, and I'm like, Odell, what the hell are you doing wearing a $250,000 watch in a game? For what?
It's so crazy, man. These watches, they really, while they are expensive, they shoot up in value as an investment so crazy. There's a watch, the Rolex Batman edition. It's a watch.
Say what?
That it's a Rolex Batman. Batman.
Okay,
edition.
you gotta tell us. Okay, Mike, you gotta tell us the story behind this one. So how did Rolex? What was the inspiration for Rolex doing that?
Well, honestly, I think they initially released the watch in commemoration with one of the Batman movies that came out in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was the
but
original
in any
one,
case,
1990.
Right. In any case, the watch normally retails for $7,500, right? Now, if you had bought one about a year ago and just held on to it, right now the watch is selling for $14,500.
You know, and it's funny because I actually saw a 1940 style Rolex bubble back. This was like 20 years ago. That was going, I believe, for like $4,000 or $5,000. It's a very, Rolex has pretty much always been one of the standard bearers, in terms of, being Dutch, Swiss, Dutch is the same.
Being that dude.
If you had a role, and Mike, it's funny, me and King, being students of the game, we would always look at the pictures back in the day because we saw the transitions where we saw the watches, we saw the chains first. The watches didn't really start hitting until around maybe 90. You could arguably say around 95, 96, because that's when you started seeing, Suge, Tupac wearing them. Then, of course, 97, Puffy and Nas, they started they got theirs on. Yeah, and then, of course, when Cash Money just came in wearing one on each arm, niggas just set it off like a whole fucking, Cash Money was taking up the 99 and 2000 with the jewelry for real.
And the 2000.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, Juvenile's son came to shop with one of my partners about 2 months ago, and he brought his pops with him. Juvenile came through, and it was just like a benchmark for me. I got to smoke a blunt with Juvenile in my showroom.
Okay.
I never thought that would ever happen.
Got to smoke with him, Got the big ballers from the Nova coming in now,
Know what I'm talking about. So it was an honor to get a chance to smoke with Juvie, man. But when they came through, everything was different.
Yeah. I mean, that $30 million, because you got to remember, man, that was 1998 when Cash Money got that $30 million from Universal. So, that deal was a landmark. So, I mean, when they came in the videos with, of course, Juvenile's High video, I mean, we seen the cars and, of course, Bling Bling, all of that. I mean, this was, ridiculous in terms, I mean, Birdman was rocking those pave bubble bracelets, all of that. We were just looking at this like, good Lord. I mean, it was just a whole different level. I mean, Pinky Ring, BG was rapping, of course, Pinky Ring cost about 50 Bling Bling. Look, them niggas actually made a damn, they even got a word into the Oxford Dictionary, Bling Bling, to basically show the ostentatious displays of outrageous wealth, that was, I mean, then, of course, you started seeing, Tony Yayo sit on a rhyme on the bump that on 50 Cent of the Future, got a $500,000 deal with no diploma, ice so bright to give your ass glaucoma. I was like, yo.
Okay, let us know.
The ice on the teeth made the crystal cold. Young Buck for Stunt 101.
Young Buck, yeah.
Oh, man. You're taking me back, man.
Yeah.
Hey, can you catch hold on 1 second? I got another call. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Take your time. You're good. All righty, we got an intermission right now. King, is this like one of the greatest shows you've ever done or what?
Man, look, I'm telling you, bro, we're getting a lot of insight from a arena in hip hop that nobody really tapped in. You're getting a lot of insight on how the jewelry game works. You're getting the insight of how it is the coexist in a business that's very, you could say, racist, just like any other. And you also get to get an insight on how black people can coexist as one, and even the situation that you deal with your own people. There's a lot of lessons learned on this show here, and my man is dropping a lot of gems on it.
Yeah, man. And the one thing about it, though, King, is as long as we've done this and we've been students of the game, of course, Sandman and Chinchilla as well, is that, it's, you only go around this life one time. So there's nothing wrong that when you hit that lick of success that, you can buy some things, to really enjoy. But I think one thing about it is the most important is understanding, to be responsible with it. Jewelry is always going to be there, but the main thing is making sure that your finances are in order before, you make a big purchase, and,
Hello?
Hopefully, Mike, we here.
Hey, sorry about that.
No, you good. No, we understand. Yeah, me and King were just talking about in terms of understanding the business aspect of it in terms of your personal finances for anyone. When you're making an investment or buying something, you want to make sure that it's something, as you said earlier, that it's a good investment piece in terms of it gains value. Now we got to go into somewhat of I won't say controversial, but the other reality of it. Some of these pieces. Now, do you think some of the artists out there who want to get these custom pieces, do you think they're just trying to go for the bang, but not really understanding, how these pieces may depreciate in terms of what it is, opposed to keeping it classic? They want to get a little bit out there with it.
Well, I mean, more than anything, these days, the rappers are the jewelry buying customer, the guy who's going to buy a big ticket item, they're aware now of the situation. And the name of the situation is jewelers are all in competition with each other, as much as it is for dollars and cents. More than anything, it's for marketing. They
Right.
know that you need the shout out. You need the photo of you posted up with them, that they shopped with you, to grow the visual size of your brand to customers on Instagram so that you can do more business with regular people. And
Right.
because of that, they're forming relationships with jewelers and getting special deals. And it's got to the point where athletes and rappers are going to shop you against the other guy to get the cheapest price possible just for the sake of the promotion.
Right.
They're going to call 4 or 5 jewelers and say, the guy in Philly is going to give it to me for $5,000 less than you do. How badly do you want that promotion? If you really want to, if you really want me to shop with you got to take a loss.
Yeah, but the funny thing about it, though, Mike, me and King, Sandman, Chinchilla, we've seen this, is that there's the most important thing sometimes is having that brand equity. And it doesn't necessarily brand equity meaning selling your soul. It just means that a good deal, because good business is always negotiable. When you undercut yourself,
right,
that's bad business. But it is never a bad thing, like if, say, Jay-Z comes to your shop and he's shopping for, Blue Ivy to get, his baby girl something. And, he's like, well, what can we negotiate in terms of something coming in how, you may take a moderate, minus on it, but you're going to get a hell of a plus because having Jay come. Right.
But no, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these cats are coming in talking about what you going to give me for free because I have a relationship with somebody else. And if you're not giving me something for free, like, if anything, I deal with that more often with people of color than anything else. Yeah, I want to shop with you. I'd love to shop with a black business and give the money back to the community and support a black businessman. But if you're not about to give me nothing for free, even if you're selling me an equivalent or a superior quality product for the same price, I'm not doing business. So unless you can afford to give me something for free, there's no business to be had here.
I'll be looking at them like, well, look, nigga, we know who you actually rent your shit from. So how about that?
That's the thing. That's the thing. But in wanting to be a professional, I can't say that. You
Right,
can't
right.
say
Of course.
you never know
We'll
when
say
you're
it
going to
for
have
you.
to cross that bridge again.
Understood. Yeah, I'm being facetious when I say that, but it's also too because that goes into, like you said, the image factor of it. Because a lot of these guys, you know, this was something that was almost a taboo subject years ago to talk about in terms of how, you know, this was, you know, how a lot of these rappers were renting their stuff. You know, they didn't really own it.
diamond
they
test,
rent
you
them.
know. Yeah.
They rent them. They get payment plans. I'll tell you one thing. I dealt with a very, very famous athlete, and I really want to tell you who it is. But if I tell you what sport they're famous in, you're gonna know who I'm talking about. But anyway,
it's okay.
It's okay.
We're not out to burn nobody.
This fool makes so much money it'll make your head spin. And he wanted to buy something, and you know, just like a lot of other jewelers are doing now, where my company runs, we run your credit. You can purchase something on credit. Man, when we ran this fool's credit, they wouldn't let him get $3,500 worth of jewelry when we ran this credit. And this is somebody who makes millions and millions of dollars a year.
But you know, Mike, it's you know, but that's real though, because you know, this is why I love doing these type of shows. This is why I just love doing this show in general. Once again, shout out to King, Sam, and Chinchilla for bringing me on. You know, because we get to talk about so much stuff. You know, and you know, I think we all saw the documentary Broke on ESPN back in the day, right?
Right.
Did you saw that Mike, about how these athletes would blow through their money and everything?
I've seen it.
Yeah,
right.
So we know. The funny thing about it, and on this show on Off the Cuff, we can get wild and crazy, you know, like Steve Martin and Chevy Chase, but we never intentionally disrespect anybody, and we never put anybody's feet to the fire. What we do is we speak on matters that have been documented and what we have known that have already been put out there publicly. So when, you know, with stuff I'm saying in the flow of this conversation and anything, you know, that might be added to it, this is all stuff that we know because it's been put out there publicly in terms of some of these athletes' financial struggles. We saw Broke. We saw about the situation with Andre Rison and, you know, how he was just blowing money. You know,
right.
You know, we saw the situation, you know, with, you know, unfortunately, you know, and we just seen stuff in the news. We've seen the unfortunate situation, what happened with Allen Iverson, you know, from my hometown of Virginia, Hampton Roads.
We're seeing how Floyd Mayweather is running through his money.
Nigga, I was looking at the other day on the Instagram, and this fool had all of his bling, like, out there. Just watch. I didn't even blow the picture. I saved it on my joint to go back to, but I was just looking and I seen all this damn ice. I was like, wait a minute. It's like, and the caption said Floyd Mayweather shows his entire jewelry collection. I'm like,
shoot.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you some insight. Floyd is somebody that I can talk about because he's so famous and he's shot with so many jewelers that it doesn't matter. I'm not airing out anything that's like an industry secret. But let me tell you something funny. Recently, I saw a video about Floyd made some crazy purchase. He purchased a watch for $18 million, right?
The billionaire watch. Watch.
You're right. He purchased a diamond watch for $18 million. Now, I've been in this industry a little while, so I've met some people who are in the higher ups as far as manufacturing and diamond sourcers and, you know, people who are at the upper echelon of the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
That watch that Floyd bought for $18 million, I found out from the people who made it that the watch itself cost $800,000 for them to make. Floyd comes into their store and just joking, the way you would joke with somebody who you're friendly with. Floyd comes in the store, he looks at the watch, he's like, oh my God, how much is this watch? I do this with my clients all the time. The first thing that they say that they like, I go, For everybody else, it's 20,000, but for you, it's $1 million. So the
Right.
Floyd comes in, he looks at the watch, he goes, "How much is it?" And then they go, $20 million, but for you, 18. And Floyd says, "Bet, run it." He didn't even bother to take the step. That wasn't the price. They were kidding. And he took it seriously and he bought a watch that cost $800,000 to make. Which maybe you can say, for the sake of argument, that's expensive. They want to make money. Say they wanted to sell it for $900,000, maybe $1 million.
$18 million.
It's a big ticket item. This fool paid $18 million for it.
Me and King are just looking and
Floyd.
We're just doing like those blink blinks, like, okay. Yeah. Oh man. Because but the funny thing, Mike, is when I saw that watch, was it a Mueller? I think it was a Mueller watch.
I think so.
But I know, because when I saw the bands of it in the build, it was actually similar to that 3 bracelet set that Puffy got years ago. That was $800,000. It was similar in terms of that size. Obviously, it just wasn't a watch piece because Puffy had a bracelet piece. Because Floyd has done a business with a few people, of course, Greg Una, out there, Greg Una, he did business with Greg, and then from what I understand, he went to another Japanese individual, which he says is his guy now, so I guess he has stopped dealing with Greg.
Floyd does business with everybody. He does everybody who's at the top of the game. He's done business with them.
Right. But
he's something special, man.
Yeah. Yeah, look, he's got like some exotics in his garage that he don't even drive, that they only made 4 in the world of, and he's got one of them, and then he has his fleet in Miami, and then his fleet in Las Vegas, and he's so he he knows which city he's in when he wakes up. I'm like, but the man, the money
my thing about Floyd is, I saw some documentary with Floyd, and the guy interviewing him was like, "Well, what do you invest your money in? What do you do with my money?" And Floyd, without any shame, said, "All of my money is in a checking account." The guy was like, "There's no way. You've made almost $1 billion fighting." He was like, No, come with me." Floyd goes to the ATM with this guy. He prints his balance, and lo and behold, there's $500 million in a checking account.
That's where he keeps all of his money, in a checking account.
That's where he keeps his money.
But the funny thing is,
and a checking account.
But the funny thing about it, though, is that I've heard stories that he walks around with his check card with $1 million on it. That he'll walk around, there. And I can say this because I saw this for myself with a club out here years ago. Rest in peace to Blakely. That was my spot. Love everybody there. Blakely, he actually, this is when he was actually getting into because Floyd has tried to diversify his business portfolio outside of boxing, which he's been tremendously successful. So this is when he was doing concert promotion. So he had a show out here, so they got him to come to the club. So he walks in with an entourage, and he's walking around with $85,000, $90,000 in the Gucci duffel bag, which some of my people got some hands on. He was passing money out. But it's this dude, when they say Money Mayweather, I saw it for real. I'm like, this dude really is Money Mayweather. And also he was playing. They played a song at a club that one of his artists when he was trying to go into the record business. And then, of course, we know about the situation with him and 50 Cent when they were supposed to go into boxing promotions together. And then we know how that came out. And then we know how 50 was trolling them on, all the other shit.
Yeah.
It's so but in all seriousness, one thing about it, because I can never tell another man how to spend their money. I will never tell no man and no woman how to spend what they work for. But I will say, just be smart about it. And you don't just the fact of the matter is, he's got kids. the insurance has to be astronomical on all those exotics. That dude probably pays $10 million a year or more just on insurance for the cars alone. You know, and then the jewelry, because he's got to get all this jewelry.
Floyd probably has no idea how all of those things get taken care of. He's got somebody on staff for that. Or I would hope so, because if he doesn't, the tax man will come. It won't be today, it won't be tomorrow, but he will come.
We knew Floyd was large when the tax man came during that Conor McGregor fight, because this has been a couple situations where Floyd has had some issues where he didn't pay his taxes, and they called him about you owe us, and he just wrote a check for it, and that was it. Like, he's how much? $5 million. He's like, done. Just
not
like
a problem.
Yeah, but not everybody has that luxury. And we have seen in these situations with a lot of athletes, a lot of celebrities in general, we can look back at a lot of these child stars, in terms of, about how, look at what happened with Gary Coleman, rest in peace. This was in the 80s, and they say he made it like $11, $12 million, and his parents basically burned through all of that, because he had no power of attorney, over his finances, because he was underage at the time. Same thing happened with Corey Feldman. He had filed for amnesty from his parents because apparently his parents, for the money he made when he was a child actor, teen actor, they had gotten his money too. So you have to, when you're dealing with millions of dollars, it's always something that you have to be conscious of. And the T word, trust, is always a very tricky one, because
it's paramount.
You can make, it's imperative. Yes, it's paramount. It's imperative. It's essential that you know what is going on with your finances at all times. And one thing, because I was watching the video you did today about the tennis bracelet buying with the stones, and I actually put that on my Facebook page because I tagged people in it because I wanted people to have just a understanding in terms of just making purchases at that level, because one thing about it in terms of what I've noticed with your business is that in addition to being a very honorable and humble individual, you're very understanding of budgets, and you got pieces for everybody, which brings a very welcoming atmosphere in, because some people come into those stores and they'll pass out just from the atmosphere of rich alone. They'll be like, damn, I can't even afford to breathe the air in here. Like, damn. But yeah, man, but I mean, how important is it for people to really understand that, because, while you were on the phone, me and King were talking about this, how important is it for people to understand that the jewelry will always be there, but making sure that your financial situation is straight is something that needs to be taken care of first, no matter who you are?
It's incredibly important. I mean, all the time I have clients come in, and part of the reason I retain a lot of my business is because I'm not afraid to tell people now is not the right time for you to buy something. Or whatever it is that you're interested in, it may not be a smart purchase. Even if it would benefit me financially, what type of person would I be? I look at it like I took a lot of pride in my work in real estate. And part of the things that you have to, when you're taking the test for the license, is understand and accept the fiduciary responsibility that you take on in caring about the value of other people's the money of your clients. And I brought that with me into this business because I would rather make money with you tomorrow than take your money today just for the sake of doing it, when I can maintain your trust and your relationship by being completely truthful with you. And that's one of the things that I carry not only into my relationship with my clients. I think it's also important in creating value in the product. A lot of people will just take your money today and not care that moving down the line, while buying jewelry is a trophy or an accomplishment or something that you use to mark a moment of significance in your life, some things you may not keep forever. Some things, when the winds change or your interests change or, God forbid, your finances change, you may need to move whatever it is that you own. And in those times,
right.
it would be incredibly frustrating for you to come to the realization that the purchase that you made in good faith is something that you're going to have to take a haircut on now. Nobody wants to take a haircut on anything that they buy. So I tell one of the things that I do to keep all of my clients is I have equal value trade-in on anything that you purchase from me, whether or not it's lost its popularity. If you buy a watch from me that's popular today, and 5 years from now it's not popular anymore, I'm going to honor the price that you paid for me on day one, because I want you to understand when you purchase something from me, it's an investment that will either retain value or accrue value for you, because I
but
think
it will
it's
never
time to
lose
put in
value.
quality construction.
But it will never lose value.
Right. Right, but it's not going to lose value with me, because that's just the way I want to honor doing business with my people. Because you can buy something from some other jeweler and then you take it back to them and they say, yeah, but you've worn it, you had it for 2 years, whatever it was that you paid for me, I'm going to take 25% off as a restocking fee. You'll take it if you're, in need of the money at the time, but that doesn't show you that person remembers or cares that you have their business. They had your business, and that they care or value your dollar. I care and I value every red cent that comes through my door. So everybody that shops with me knows that they're going to get their money's worth in value, and that it will praise that way, and you can take my jewelry to another place, and they're going to tell you that it's of quality. And it's just important to keep that in mind and being honest with people, because then, you're doing things the right way. And that's more important than anything else.
Now, definitely.
Now,
Mike, we would be remiss. Go ahead, King. Go ahead.
I was going to say, now, have social media played a great impact in you impacting your business?
I mean, social media, the entire business at this point is done via social media, because anybody who's been down to my showroom will attest to the fact that I'm not on the ground floor, on the street. I have a private showroom that's by appointment only. We have a balcony. We have a full bar. We have a lounge. And because of that, I don't get street. I don't get street traffic. I don't get the guy who's walking. I don't get the guy who's walking on the street and sees something in the window and says, "Wow, that looks amazing. I'm gonna come up." My business is all done entirely by reputation. So social media makes up 95% of the business that I do. Reaching out to people, the hard work of texting people, reaching out to people, FaceTiming people so that they can see the product when they're not in New York, because everything is global now with the internet, and you can be in touch with somebody who's overseas or in LA or in another city who's moving, because money is fluid these days, and you can have that personal touch and interconnectivity through social media. And I'm really thankful for that, and my ability to be able to reach out to people is part of the reason that I've been able to be successful as I have today, despite being a black man in an industry where there are very few. So social media is the name of the game.
Hey, that's how we found you. We're so grateful for that, through social media. Now, there was a question I wanted to ask you that I would be remiss about, because this has also been a very controversial issue in jewelry about the sourcing of diamonds, in terms of course, we know about the blood diamonds, the Sierra Leone conflicts, of course, it's been rapped about. How have you been able to, observe all of that and making sure that there was not limbs lost and lives lost behind, making sure, your diamonds were sourced ethically and humanely?
Well, that's a fantastic question. And I personally have great relationships with some of the best diamond wholesalers in the country because my partners, I don't know if you guys were able to tell your audience before that I'm part of the NYC Luxury family. NYC Luxury was originally a wholesaling company.
Okay.
And they were one of the companies that I used to wholesale out of, and I joined forces with them. And unlike most of the other big name jewelers in the industry, these weren't the guys that I partnered with, the wholesalers. They're not people who were in the industry for generations. They're not people who
like the De Beers company, like the Beers and all that.
Right. It was someone who's actually younger than me. Who I partnered with, and we just figured in New York City, a lot of people, as long as you're not white, you're growing up with the same cultural experience, hip hop, New York, authentic experience. And we just figured that we're all young cats who had a lot of the same experiences growing up. We teamed up together, and we were able to get a diamond sourcer who, our diamond wholesaler gets Russian diamonds. And because these diamonds come from a colder climate, they're actually whiter and cleaner, and we know that they're not conflict diamonds. Despite that, though, I try to personally make sure that we also do business with vendors and wholesalers that are from people of color, from African wholesalers, because I would not feel right knowing that I wasn't giving the opportunity I was not afforded to other people who look like me. So I make it a part of my business to make sure that other people on the wholesale business, I'm doing business with people of color.
Understood. And you just want to make sure that from that perspective that, that of course that there's no blood on them, literally.
Yeah.
Now we got to.
It's an unfortunate situation. You don't want to incidentally benefit something negative that's going on out there. And it's important to know where everything that you're getting is sourced and come from, and that's something that is incredibly important to me.
Yeah. Now, it's also now we went from something serious, so we got to keep it light. Now one thing about it is that you put the premium on producing flawless and perfect products. And I think Ace Hood probably could have went to you some years ago. I still remember that situation when he was on the BET Awards red carpet and that bezel fell off of his Rolex.
The bezel popped off his Rolex? Oh, man. That was a wild one.
I'm like, how did that happen? Now, and it's a comedy question, but it's also a serious question because what is because with Slick Rick, I think it was GQ or somebody he did a videos for, and he was talking about how he did his jewelry. So he was talking about the Rolex as to how he got those that Rolex customized. Now, usually when you're dealing with your watches in terms of the big Willie faces, you're talking usually about a 48 millimeter base, usually 48 to 52 millimeter, depending on the size and the manufacturer. How are those fittings? Are those usually, do the companies themselves usually have the crazy displays on those made right away, or is that something usually that you all customize to your customers' specifications?
Well, one of two things can happen.
Okay.
While obviously on my page I post a lot of flashy, blingy stuff, I want to make it clear that I carry products for people of any price point. And that includes, but is not limited to, the watches as well. So to get to your point, when you see watches that have been fully iced out, there are one of two options. One, that it was done by the factory, which is very rare. Rolex, Patek Philippe, and AP, and I think Richard Mille is now doing it too, are the only companies that have the option with factory iced out watches. They don't do it very often, and they are incredibly expensive if you get them iced out from the factory.
Yeah.
And it's because of two things. One, when you get a timepiece that's been iced out from the factory, they literally get some of the most expert diamond setters on the planet to do the work, so the job is absolutely flawless.
Oh yeah.
Which is one thing that I benefited from, because the gentleman that I hired to be the lead setter for the team that I used to set my diamonds was a former master setter at Protect the Leap.
Oh,
that's
okay.
why
So
my work is.
You got the pros.
Clean.
You call the big dogs in.
Yeah. I want to throw the talent from the other team and brought them over to my club.
Hey, franchise, baby. We all about winning.
So the only other way that you see the iced out watches is aftermarket, and that's if a jeweler like myself takes a plain watch and then takes it to the diamond setting team and then ices it out, which is much less expensive, because watches that are iced out from factory by the manufacturer, like Rolex has a reputation. They said anything that they have diamonds on, they will only use flawless clarity diamonds. And flawless clarity diamonds are so much more expensive than any other clarity. It's mind-blowing. Like if I had a normal VS diamond that cost me maybe, I don't know, $600, $700, $800 for a carat solitaire, the flawless diamond is going to cost you maybe like 10 times as much for the same size.
I believe it.
Woo!
Yeah.
So,
and it's crazy. Oh, go ahead.
That's why icing out watches even became popular, because if you want to go to Rolex and get the factory iced out watch from them, first of all, you're not going to have big stones around the face, because that's not classy and they don't do things like that. And secondly, you're going to pay an arm, a leg, a kidney, and your firstborn child for that watch.
And not in that order. But it's funny, Mike, because when I look at a lot of these magazines, because, we are always big up Source and Double XL on the show. King knows this as well. Our co-host Sandman and Chinchilla, they know as well. And I have a Double XL from 1997 because I'll be sending you pictures from my magazine collection over time, just so you know for what you, just to give you reference points. Because I actually, they got a picture of Raekwon's Woo Rolex. And they alluded to the fact that Rolex actually customized it for him. They actually had his Rolex and his brother Power's Rolex side by side. I'll send you that picture. Mm-hmm. But it was crazy. And I got a picture of Iverson's jewelry, went on the cover of, because he did two covers, and one in 1999 for Source Sports and another one in 2000. And he had all of his jewelry on. And, when you're looking at pieces, there are just some classic pieces that really stand out in hip-hop, like, dog, when we saw, like, 1995, when we saw that Raekwon gold tarantula piece, we were just like, oh, shit. And then when we saw Big's Jesus piece, we were like, oh, wow. And, of course, Jay had his. Jay was rocking. Jay was rocking. Yeah. Matter of fact, he was rapping on pregame. He said, Spanish Jose, show me how to get the money, nigga owe me. Fast forward, no kids, 6 cars and 3 rollies, 2 cribs, trips to Cuba, sipping on Uber, got raps. It was just, yeah. I'm tongue-tied on it.
He was going in.
Yeah. Sipping on Uber, got rap in the stupa, first to clap your group up. Him and Sauce Money just killed it on that track. But yeah, that was off the Yeah, that was off the Belly soundtrack in 1999, and of course it showed up on Sauce Money's Middle Finger You album released in 2000. And for those who don't know, for random hip hop trivia, that song is not the full version. If you go on YouTube, shout out to YouTube, the full version is up there. That was just the short version. There's actually a version with an additional verse by each of them on there. But I love that verse though, But with Jay, man, I mean, would you say that Jay probably in terms of really kind of bringing the platinum to the forefront in terms of kind of giving that stylistic perspective? Of course, Big died before we could see him push that Bentley, because he rapped about it. So rest in peace to the late, great B.I.G. Who would you say probably in the modern era really, really took it to the next level in terms of really showing where rap money was going on that legitimate scale of hustle?
A hustle, I don't know, but with the guys that are setting the trends and pushing the envelope with the creativity of doing with their jewelry and stuff, it's got to be the Migos, man. Those three cats out of Atlanta, they make stuff and do stuff that I've never seen before.
They got a solar system. Was that Quavo or Offset that had the solar system chain? I was looking at that.
It was Quavo.
Take off. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, man. The stuff that they're doing is it's art. I'll put it like that, because it's actually, honestly, it's pushed the quality of construction of custom pendants in jewelry to the next level because of the creativity that they're demanding from the jeweler that they go to. The quality and construction of jewelry as a whole throughout the whole industry changed, and it's all thanks to them, man. They are definitely trendsetters. Aside from the fact that I'm a jeweler, just as a spectator, I would wish for their own sake that they weren't spending as much money as they are on jewelry, because what they're doing does not last forever.
Yeah.
And I just feel bad seeing niggas that are 27, 28 years old. I know how hard I've worked for the little slice of success that I thank God that I've been privileged to enjoy. To see these cats spend the millions that they have on jewelry as a jeweler is upsetting to me. But that's neither here nor there, man. I wish them the best.
Mike, but this is something that has to be really spoken on, and in all seriousness, because the fact is that, there's always things in life that we work for, whether, it be Jordans, but the one thing that's paramount is being fiscally responsible. It makes no sense for you to stun in the club in some Jordans and you don't have a car and you're waiting for the bus to take you home.
That's right.
And it's not smart to buy 10 pairs of Jordans where, like I said, once again, where you buy 10 pairs of Jordans this day and time for the prices they go for, that's a down payment on a car. It's no need to fuck up your credit trying to buy a $50,000 watch with like 10% financing, that you're, in a perfect world, and I'm just being as real as I can for our listeners out there, if you don't have the money, it's okay if you can't buy it, because you take care of your necessities first. And like I said,
right, you need to live your wage.
Right.
There's
live
nothing,
your wage.
I don't know what. I think it's because of social media today. People want to reach for a level that they haven't either earned or have the privilege to experience yet. And there's nothing wrong with being aspirational. I don't want to take anybody's dreams from them. But
Understood.
There's still the level of being responsible as an adult, as a human being who's got their eyes open, watches the news, sees what's going on. Look at what's going on in the world literally today with everything that's going on, I wouldn't, in good faith, not the way I was raised, spend my money in some of the ways that I've seen some of these guys do it. But, you know, to each his own. You can't tell another man how to spend the money that he earned. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, at some point, we got to hold ourselves accountable.
And the one thing about it is people, you know, we've gotten, as great as much as hip-hop has given us jobs, the stunt culture has gotten very, very twisted, because now it's a situation where you see a lot of people trying to outdo each other. And realistically, if you want to buy a Bentley, that's fine, but why do you need 10 Bentleys, you know?
Well, I mean, like I was saying earlier,
yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, unfortunately for these guys, for them to even make it in the hip-hop world to be successful, they have to, for their own appearance. People won't go to their shows or believe that they're successful in their own right unless they're seeing it.
And, you know, it's funny, Mike, because when you say that, you know, you're absolutely right. But it's also, I think it's also in terms of what is being promoted in the culture in terms of artists. Because when you look at guys like Cormega, shout out to Cormega and QB, man, Mega Montana, you know, with Legal Hustle. Mega runs an independent operation, you know, and I've seen Mega blinged out a little bit, you know, and Mega's jewelry is very, like he has the theater charm chain with the tragedy and comedy. And, you know, I've seen Mega rock some nice shit. And, you know, of course, the in-house favorites, the King was on before everybody else years ago. We cannot leave out Griselda. We cannot leave out those guys because their jewelry game is absolutely ridiculous, and they do it independently.
Yeah, man, I've been trying to work with them.
Yeah.
I've been trying to work with them. They read my messages. They read my messages, but they don't reply.
Okay, Griselda.
Man, you probably got to get them dudes. Yeah, what you probably got to do, you probably got to get them dudes like a wrestling chain or something, like, because you know them guys, they love mixing wrestling with their raps. So you might have to get them like a Stone Cold Steve Austin charm piece or something.
I might have to design. I'm gonna take you up on that. You're gonna get a commission if I sell it.
King.
Yeah, appreciate it.
King, send him the cash out, man.
For real, I'm gonna send it to him after the interview.
But yeah, man. But one thing is, you know, but when you got that independent money, you can do that. And when Griselda came, you know, when I saw that Cruiserweight Coke video, and I was like, that stuff they were rocking. And then this photo shoot that they did for Double XL a few months ago with the double cover with, you know, rest in peace to Juice WRLD and Lil, you know, and of course Lil Baby, the double cover they did. And I saw the stuff Benny, Westside, and Conway were rocking. I'm like, well, obviously two things. These guys were in the street, and I never heard anybody say that they weren't in the street. So that money must have been really good in the street. And number two, that rap money must be even better. Cause boy,
I mean, look, they're from Buffalo, New York, and I know things are different upstate New York and Buffalo. They definitely have a lot of opportunity to make the money that they made.
Yeah, you know, for those who don't know about Buffalo, you know, Buffalo is more than Wings and Rick James. You know, that's where Griselda's from, and of course, you know, if you're really in the know of the street, then you know about Donald Fly Williams, one of the OG goons out Buffalo. So yeah,
and Buffalo is one of those underrated cities where they got a lot of women with big booties out there, but you gotta know that they out there.
Man, look, it's everywhere you go, man. You know you're gonna find out stuff in terms of what's the economy, you know, the hidden economy and the attractions, because we all love. Me as a proud black man, I love big booties, but I love big breasts is better. I'm a titty man. Yes, I'll put it out there. I love me big breasts.
Okay.
I'm a breast man. You know, I stand on it. I will die on that hill alone. But yeah, man. But when you look at a lot of the pieces, man, a lot of artists, a lot of times, just watching the graduation of change, from what it was back in the day to what it is now. Like you said, the Migos have really changed the game up, but we're seeing so many custom pieces that have just been like, I look at the change that Pharrell and Migo had, which they still have, but Migo had that big ass dollar sign. Was that emerald or was those
that green dollar sign?
Yeah, and then Pharrell had his caricature piece with the Gucci links, and I was like, good Lord.
That was the real bling bling era.
Yeah, the ice cream
when they
game.
were getting it.
Yeah. But I think I think to me the 90s though, like King referred to earlier with the Nas piece with the QB, because we just was like, man, we saw that.
You also gotta take in heed that the 90s, all that big money was coming into the game. Like guys was going platinum within.
Back then, people were making more money selling records. Everybody was going platinum. There was a time that if you went platinum, you could still get dropped from your label. What you mean you only sold 1 million records? Cats were making way more money back in the day off of traditional album sales.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Mike, because it shows the diversification of your knowledge. How do you feel that the social media, the internet has changed how music has been marketed? Because back in the day, you would sign a straight deal, and that was it. Now you got 360 deals. We got the situation with Megan talking about how her deal with 1501 Entertainment, how they basically have, how they haven't been fair with her. In terms of how music is marketed and produced, what has been a change you've seen? And you're from Queens, so you've seen some of the legendary greats come from there. So you've seen it firsthand. What how has the game changed?
I mean, I think more than anything, some of the greatest changes that we have in the game, we owe really to two parties, to 50 Cent and P. Diddy, because 50 Cent created an atmosphere in the era of him beefing with everybody in the city where the sales of your record became more important than the quality of the project itself. Because he was so busy fighting with everybody, the most important thing to him was, oh yeah, well, what were your sales scan numbers? Because I did like Jadakiss said in Checkmate, I did 1.4 million in a short week.
Right.
Everything became about the sales number. And Diddy with, God bless his heart, the contracts that he's been notorious to having signed his artists to, and, being able to get a piece of their
publishing.
Their
publishing.
That when they now, these deals are constructed with these 360s, they're getting a piece of your concert touring, they're getting a piece of your merch, any, sponsorship deals you got, the label may want a piece of that. It's gotten to the point where people, because of social media, have to create more avenues for them to create unique revenue streams for themselves and really understand that their brand extends much further beyond just their ability to make and sell good music. Right. You yourself, now you're a corporation. And coming along with that comes bigger dollars and, the budgets and opportunities to create bigger and wilder jewelry as a result of, people having new revenue streams that, didn't exist for some of our, greats in the past. I always, whenever I get the chance, when there's a big sporting event, I always go watch it with I don't go see it with my boys or my OGs, I go watch it with my pops. And one of the conversations I have with my pops all the time is we both wonder how much more money and revenue for himself Muhammad Ali could have created had he had access to Twitter. Because think of how easily he was the most popular human being on the planet. How he would grab people's attention and they would hang off of every word that he said. How much money some of these guys in the cats in the past could have made in sports. Think of Charles Barkley, how much money Chuck could have made back in the day. Or think of what Michael Jordan's reputation would have been like had he had the opportunity for people to hear what he's actually like as a person. Because Jordan the man on the court and Jordan the man are two completely different things.
Yeah, we've heard stories, especially with Charles Barkley. I'm like, because I was thinking in my mind, man, if somebody had actually caught that footage of him throwing that dude through the glass plate window, man. And Mike, I'm a Mike fan, but I know that Mike had his difficult moments, in terms of how he was, I know Mike did have a reputation for being a bit of a difficult individual,
Right.
Now, one thing too, Mike, I want to ask
you'll definitely hear it out here.
Now we got a little bit of time left, but I want to ask you this too because you've got situations where a lot of times dudes want to flex, but how much should common sense supersede the flex action of when you can get robbed and even killed for your shit? Because we remember the situation back in the day with Stephon Marbury riding around New York at a top down with a Bentley in Brooklyn, and he got stuck for that $180,000 diamond three-piece.
No. This stuff it's still happening. Believe me. The funny thing is, sports, which is one of the reasons why I love the work that I do. Sports, hip hop, and the jewelry industry, they really are in synchrony and go hand in hand. And just because, we've come to a point in the digital age where, we've got social media and people are being politically correct and things are nice now, people think that the streets are not part of the business anymore. The streets definitely have their hands in every aspect of the music business, of the athletic business. They all go hand in hand. And with that in mind, just recently, Aviani Jewelers, one of the biggest jewelers in the industry. These guys have been in the industry 4, 5, 6, 7 generations in. They got robbed like 6 months ago, broad daylight, Sunday afternoon.
I heard about that.
3 dudes came in with no disguises on their face, walked in and left with like $10 million worth of goods. Then this past Super Bowl, the Super Bowl in Miami, another one of the very popular jewelers, Eric the Jeweler.
Yeah, that was
a great guy.
That UPS driver that was killed in there because that was a situation where those guys robbed that jewelry store and they got into a shootout with the police.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Man,
but, one of my associates, Eric the Jeweler, he went down to the Super Bowl like most of us did to, see there are a lot of big guys in town. When there's a lot of big money in town, it attracts a lot of business to be done. He went down there and got robbed for $2 million out of his hotel room. He got robbed for $2 million. So the streets are definitely aware that, the big ticket items are out. There's a lot of big money being moved, and there's opportunity there for those who've got ill intentions.
And, Mike, it's crazy you say that because, there was a situation with Iverson about a month ago out here where he got robbed for $500,000 worth of jewelry. I think somebody snatched his bag. And, of course, Nelly some years ago, somebody boosted $1 million of jewelry out of his hotel room.
Well,
it happens.
Sometimes so it does happen a lot more often than people think that it does. But again, like I was mentioning earlier, sometimes these guys, they figure that their jewelry is insured, that they can catch a lick, You know, these appraisals. If you've got a jeweler who doesn't mind, pushing the envelope, they may say that something you purchased from them will appraise for double its value. And you, in that situation, you may want to say that it was robbed. You may want to say that it was stolen, just so that you can get that insurance check and double up.
Hey, it's a hustle on all sides.
They'll tell you that they got robbed, and it'll be their man who came in the hotel room and took it. And then they're going to call Geico and say, hey, look, it's gone. It's gone. Run me that check.
And look, who's going to say that it was an inside job because nobody's seen it took? So it's like they can't say that, you know what I'm saying?
If you watch the hip-hop news these days, every week some rapper is getting robbed of this. I just raise my eyebrow and say, ooh, I wonder who's collecting on that one.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. But it's real.
Hey, guys, it's been a pleasure, but I got to run.
Understand.
Yeah, we too,
Mike,
man.
We appreciate you so much. You're welcome back anytime. And, plug yourself, man. Give it, plug yourself before you go, man. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for having me on. My name is Mike, and you can find me on Instagram at BigMikeTh3Jeweler. And the E in the is a number 3, which is incredibly frustrating to me because I have not been able to get the Big Mike the Jeweler the account without the number 3 in my name. But in any case, you can find me on Instagram.
Big Mike the Jeweler too, right?
No, I do not have a Facebook page, but
okay.
You can find me on Instagram, Big Mike the Jeweler, and you can call or text me anytime at 917-246-1740. That's 917-246-1740. And no matter what you're looking for, engagement rings, necklaces, pendants, bracelets, whether it's iced out or plain, no matter what your budget is, I'll be able to work with you, and I hope to have your business.
And look, man, we working here. We get that big check cut for us. You know who we coming to you first for any outlandish purchases we got.
For real, we definitely gonna keep in touch, man. Get that clientele out there.
I appreciate it, man. It means a lot to me that you guys thought enough to take the time to talk to me because, like I said, there are very few people that look like us that are trying to make it in this business, and I think I'm glad to have the time to speak to you guys.
Look, we're definitely gonna let you know when we have that show on YouTube. King will let you know, and we're gonna send that link to you, and feel free to share it and chop it up with all share with all your peoples. And man, look, this was one of the best shows we've ever done. One of the most informative shows. We thank you for your wisdom, your knowledge, your friendship, and most importantly, your time, which is so valuable and priceless in itself. The academics you've given us are appreciated beyond measure. Thank you so much for those gems of jewels that you've shined us with, man. Thank you so much.
No problem, man, and I'd love to do it again anytime. Just give me a call and let me know, and I'll be happy to be part of the show.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man.
Thank you so much.
We're going to definitely keep in touch with you, brother.
All right, y'all have a good one.
So on that,
you too.
So on that note, we about to sign up out of here. We hope and pray that everybody be safe from this coronavirus that's going on. So if you need to stay home, stay home.
Yeah.
Be careful out there. We send our thoughts and prayers out. Wash your ass, most importantly.
Yes. Be hygienic and just use common sense how you're approaching things. Just constantly just stay clean and just, till this whole thing subsides. So go ahead, take us out of here.
On that note, I got to be up out of here. See y'all next week. Hopefully and prayerfully, everybody be all right and safe. On that note, peace out. Deuces.
Yep. Peace.